Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to start learning how to do functions. Now what I want is I want a blank sheet. So I'm going to scroll all the way over to the end until I find a new blank sheet. Sheet number 3 it says for me. If you don't have this sheet there, then you can hit this plus sign and you can make your own sheet. Now the way we do a formula is we start with an equal sign always. The equal sign is what indicates that this is a formula. So equal, and we're going to put in here 4 plus 1. So 4 plus 1, and that is 5. Again, we want to start with an equal sign, and here we're going to do 10 minus 5. So 10, the hyphen is the minus sign, so hyphen minus 5, and we hit enter, and it gives me 5. On this next one, we want 2 times 4, so equal sign, 2. The asterisk is the times, so 2 times 2, and then that gives me 4. And then on this last one, we want 6 divided by 3, so we start with our equal sign, 6, the forward slash, and then 3, and that gives me 6 divided by 3. Now in column B, I'm just going to enter 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, and 4, enter. Just plugging in those numbers because those are numbers that will help me easily show you some things. And then for C, I'll make it more complex. I'll plug in there numbers like 78 plus, or not plus, sorry, 78, 14, 2, and 47. Okay, now those are just random numbers that I selected. Now, part of our formulas are being able to add together what we call references. References are referencing the box. For example, here I'm going to start with an equal sign, and I'm going to type in B1. And you'll notice that it highlighted B1, which means that's what I'm adding. And I'll put plus. You don't always have to type it in though. I can just click in B2, hit plus, B3. Whoops, I did B4. Hit B3. And now I've messed up this thing. Let me start again. Okay. B3 plus B4. And hit enter. And that adds up to B10. All right, so there's a total sum. The nice thing about using cell references, it's called a cell reference, is that if I make any changes up here, it automatically changes the solution. For example, if this 2, I change it to a 6, and now change my answer to 14. Now I can copy this function by clicking in here and fill handling it once to the right. And notice here that it gave me a completely different answer because it just copied the function or the formula for this one, only it read that it wanted me to solve this column. So you can double click on it and you can see exactly what that's adding together, which is what we wanted to do. Now, hitting escape, it's important to know that Excel will always follow order of operations. Order of operations is PEMDAS, right? Parentheses are always done first, then exponents, and then multiplication, division, they're equal to each other. So if they're in the same problem, we always go left to right. And then addition, subtraction, and addition and subtraction are equal to each other. So if they're the only things remaining in a math problem, then we do those left to right. We follow that order: parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction. So to help us identify this and how it works, we're going to first put a formula in here. I keep calling it a function because we're going to talk about functions soon. But anyway, we put a formula in here. We're going to start with 2 plus 4. And we're going to put times 10 to the second power. Now, the way we raise 10 to the second power is we hit shift and the number 6. And you see that it gives us that little up arrow and then 2. That means 10 to the second power. And then we're going to hit minus 3 divided by 2. So 3 forward slash 2. And the answer we get is 400.5. Now, we are going to copy that function into the one just below it. So right click, copy, and then right click and paste. And we want to hit escape so we don't do anything funky here. And we're going to double click on cell D2. I'm going to make one change. I'm going to put parentheses around the 2 plus 4. So parenthesis there and a parenthesis here, and hit enter, and you'll notice that it gives me a completely different solution. Now the reason is because it followed order of operations. Now, the cool thing about Excel, or another cool thing about it, is that you can audit your functions or your equations, um, your formulas. And the way you can do that is you go up to the Formulas tab and you click on under the Formula Auditing section, the Show Formulas. Now it shows me every formula I have on this page. So they're all here. I can easily check them to make sure they're what I really wanted there. And that's a quick way of checking them. By clicking on that button again, I can get rid of them. Now, another thing I can do is evaluate a formula to see how it solved it. So let's take this one for example. I just click in D2 and then I click the Evaluate Formula button. You'll notice down here that it has 2 plus 4 underlined. That means it's going to solve 2 plus 4 first. So I hit Evaluate, and it has 6 underlined because that's what it did was add a 2 and 4. And so I hit Evaluate again, which doesn't change anything. But right here, it now tells me it's going to do 10 squared. So I hit Evaluate there, and now it's going to do 6 times 100. And now it's going to do 3 divided by 2, and then 600 minus 1.5. And that's how it got to its solution. So either I can verify that I have the correct solution in the followed order of operations, or there's something I need to type in there differently to get the answer I really need. So anyway, that's how you can evaluate your functions. Go ahead and close that out. The next thing we're going to do is we want to do what we call name ranges. If you go over into the artist cell summaries summary worksheet, you'll see here that it wants the total for all the artists. If I click up here under Formulas tab still, in the Name Manager, you'll notice that it has all the artist names, all of them that are down here below, except for Johnson. And these are the total cells for each of those artists. So we want to put Johnson's in there, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to the Johnson worksheet. And over here in O10, that's where his total cells are at. So we can do this by going to Define Name. Click on Define Name. Make sure you have selected O10 before you do this. And we're going to type this in there just like the other ones, which is Johnson Cells. And click OK. When I click on the Name Manager now, you can see that Johnson Cells is now in there. And now I have all the cells artists in what we call a defined name. Okay? Which means anywhere in the Excel that I want to put these things, I automatically have them saved. And all I have to do is type in Anders or something like that. So I'm going to close it. We're going to go back to the artist cell summary sheet. I'm going to hit an equal sign under B4, which is where Anders' total cells will go. So equal. I'll start typing in Anders, and you'll see here that it automatically pulls up for me the option for Anders cells. So I select that, double click it, and I hit enter. And now those are the total cells for Anders. To verify that, I'll come down and click on the Anders folder, and here's their total cells, and that's the correct answer. Going back to the artist cell summary sheet then, we don't have to do it that way every time. We can also use the Use in Formula button up at the top in the Formula section. In the Formulas tab, the Use in Formulas, we're going to select Big A cells and hit Enter. And Christos, we can select Christos cells and hit Enter. You go ahead and fill in all the rest of these. Okay, and so now I have all the total cells for each of these people transferred over. Now, the next thing about Excel that's pretty awesome is that we can do functions. Functions are a powerful part of Excel. What is this? These are saved functions, saved formulas that are commonly used by people. And so all we have to do is use the formula that's already created for us. If we go to the Home tab, we're going to want to find the total of all these totals, right? We want the total amount of all this money that was for ourselves. Well, the way we can do that is we go on the Home tab, over to the Auto Sum button and click on it, and you'll notice it automatically reads that it wants this column. That's because these numbers are all adjacent to it, meaning they touch it. And it automatically assumes that that's what you want to add together. If it's not what you want to add together, you better delete B12 and B4 and select what you wanted. So this is what we want, so we hit enter. And now that's the sum button. The problem most people have is they try to use the sum button for everything. And the sum button is not meant to be used for everything. It's only meant for things like adding together a bunch of numbers. So if we scroll over to the FY15 online sales worksheet, right down here on C22, it says that we want the total value of items sold.
before taxes. That's the price right here, basically. So we're going to add these all together. If I go up and I click the auto sum button, notice that it doesn't automatically fill in anything because none of the numbers are touching that box. There's nothing adjacent to it. So what I can do is I can left click up here in B5 and drag down through, E5 and drag down through E19. You'll see here that it says E5 through E19. The colon means through. That means everything through E5 through E19. Hit enter, and there's the total amount of cells. Now this next one says the lowest value. We just want to find out which one has sold the painting for the least amount. Maybe we want to get rid of that artist. I don't know. So we're going to start with an equal sign. The least amount is what we call a minimum. So MIN. We double click on minimum, and we're going to select the same range of numbers. So hit enter. The highest value sold, that would be the maximum. So we're going to put an equal sign and type in max for maximum. Double click on it. And we want to select the same column of information. Then it wants the average, and you guessed it, equal sign, AVERAGE. Select average and the same information. And again, the median, equal sign, MED, median, and the same range of numbers. Now, with those numbers selected, we now look here and it says that this wants the total number of items sold. How can we figure that out? We can use what's called the count function. So we're going to start with an equal sign and we're going to start typing in count. And you'll notice that it has count, count A, count blank, count if, count ifs. Each of these has a different function, different thing that it accomplishes. So if you just click one time on each of these, you can see what it wants you to do in each of those sections. We're going to choose the count A because count A counts the number of cells that are not empty. Well, none of the cells up here are empty, and that would tell us how many cells that we've made then. So we double click on count A, and this time we're just going to select column D5 through D19. Okay, with those selected, and I hit enter, it tells me that they've sold 15 items. Now, the number of oversized items, the reason why I selected this column is because that's what we're going to use here as well. This identifies the oversized items. So we're going to start with an equal sign. This is also a count function, so we start typing in count. But this is count if, meaning this has a certain criteria. It's only going to count it if it meets some kind of criteria that we give it. We want to, down here it tells me what I need to punch in order for this to work. It says the range and then the criteria. So the range is D5 through D19. And you'll notice there's a comma there, so we need to put the comma. And now it wants the criteria. If it was oversized, we typed in here yes. So that's what the criteria is. If it says yes, we want it to count it. So we hold down, we do quotations, and we do a capital yes, capital Y, I mean, with ES. And yes is completely inside of quotations. And we close the parenthesis, and now we have the criteria of yes. We hit enter, and you can see here that there are 6. Remember, the cool thing about functions is if we make any change anywhere, it automatically updates it in our solution. For example, if this became a yes, that changed it from 6 to 7, and it made that change for us. This now concludes section A of our 2 sections. There's one more section that you need to do this time around, so make sure you do it